The meaning of the name Abraham. The name Abraham evokes images of wisdom, leadership, and a rich cultural heritage. Throughout history, this name has transcended borders, adopting varied meanings and forms. In this article, we will explore the multiple facets of Abraham, unraveling its gender, variance, popularity, origin, and secular as well as religious meanings, culminating with a look at its history. Prepare for a journey that reveals the complexity and beauty behind this ancient name. Gender of the name. The name Abraham is predominantly male, a fact that reflects its roots in both historical and contemporary societies. Traditionally, it has been associated with qualities of leadership, strength, and wisdom, attributes that in many cultures have been linked to male roles. This perception has persisted through the centuries, though interpretations and gender attributions have evolved. In the modern context, the name maintains its masculine identity, but it is undergoing a process of reinterpretation. Today's more fluid society, in terms of roles and gender perceptions, invites a reflection on how names contribute to the shaping of identity. Abraham, with its rich heritage and symbolic depth, offers fertile ground for such discussions. Nevertheless, it is important to highlight that the use of the name Abraham is not exclusively limited to a strict gender demarcation. Its cultural and spiritual resonance transcends these boundaries, allowing its essence to impact individuals and communities beyond conventional categories. The masculinity associated with Abraham, therefore, is both a legacy of its history and a starting point for broader and more diverse interpretations in the future. Variants of the name. In Europe, the name Abraham manifests in various linguistic and cultural forms. For example, in Spain, it is common to find the variant Abram, a more concise form that retains the essence of the original. In Italy, Abramo offers an Italian twist to the name, adding a characteristic vowel of the language. France contributes Abraham or Brahim as adaptations, while in Germany, Abram and Abraham are used interchangeably, each with its own cultural nuance. Moving towards the Middle East, we find that Ibrahim is a prevalent variant in Arabic-speaking countries. This form resonates deeply in the region, given its significance in Islam. In Turkey, Ibrahim adapts the name to Turkish spelling, maintaining its sonority and meaning. In Africa, the variants of Abraham diversify even further. In Ethiopia, for example, the names Abraham or Abraha are common, reflecting the local pronunciation and spelling. Nigeria, with its vast linguistic diversity, offers adaptations in various local languages, demonstrating the name's ability to integrate into different cultural contexts. America offers a range of variants, influenced by the history of immigration and the mixing of cultures. In the United States, Abe is a popular and affectionate form of Abraham, immortalized by historical figures like Abraham Lincoln. In Latin America, Abram is frequently found, adapting to the Spanish and Portuguese phonetics of the region. This diversity of variants not only reflects the linguistic adaptability of the name Abraham, but also its ability to cross cultural and religious borders, adopting new nuances and meanings while maintaining its original essence. Rarity. In East Asia and Southeast Asia, Abraham is notably less common. In these regions, local names and cultural traditions predominate, making names of Hebrew or Islamic origin rare. However, in international or religious communities within these areas, Abraham can be found as a reflection of global influences or personal faith. In Africa, the linguistic and cultural diversity means that Abraham is present in some areas, especially those with strong Islamic or Christian traditions, but may be rare in others, where local cultural practices and names prevail. Origin of the name. The name Abraham has a deeply rooted origin in ancient history, tracing its lineage back to the earliest civilizations of the Middle East. Its first documented appearance is in biblical and Quranic texts, where Abraham is recognized as a patriarchal figure of great importance in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. Biblical and Quranic roots. In Judaism, Abraham is considered the first patriarch of the Jewish people, a man whose faith and obedience to God established him as a model of virtue. According to Jewish tradition, his original name was Abram, meaning exalted father, but was changed to Abraham, father of multitudes, following the divine promise that he would be the ancestor of numerous nations. Christianity adopts this Old Testament narrative, considering Abraham as a symbol of unwavering faith and obedience to God. His story is used to illustrate the concept of faith justified by works, and he is revered as an example of virtue and trust in divine providence. In Islam, Abraham is recognized as one of the most important prophets, an ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad, and a model of submission to Allah's will. His story, especially his willingness to sacrifice his son in obedience to God, is recounted in the Quran as a supreme example of faith. Historical evolution. The evolution of the name Abraham from its ancient origins to its contemporary use reflects the cultural and linguistic transformations it has undergone. From its conception in religious contexts to its adoption in different languages and cultures, the name has maintained an intrinsic connection with values of faith, leadership, and promise. Throughout the Middle Ages, the name spread across Europe through Christian traditions, adapting to local languages and dialects. This expansion coincided with periods of intense religious and cultural activity, such as the Crusades and the Reconquista, which promoted the dissemination of biblical texts and, with them, names of religious significance. Cultural and religious influences. The persistence of the name Abraham over time and its adoption in various cultures are largely due to its profound religious and cultural significance. It has served not only as a reminder of religious faith but also as a symbol of the connections between different spiritual traditions. The journey of the name through history reflects a constant dialogue between the past and the present, where ancient narratives intertwine with contemporary identities and experiences. This rich tapestry of influences has ensured that Abraham remains a relevant and respected name in diverse societies. Meaning of the name, non-religious. The meaning of the name Abraham, apart from its deep religious roots, can be explored from cultural, etymological, and symbolic angles, offering a rich and varied perspective that transcends the spiritual. Etymology and symbolism. Etymologically, the name Abraham is derived from the Hebrew Avraham. Avenue means father, while Raham has been interpreted as multitude or many, translating to father of multitudes. This interpretation highlights an aspect of leadership and the ability to guide or influence others, a quality admired in numerous cultures. From a symbolic perspective, Abraham represents wisdom, resilience, and adaptability. As a paternal figure, it symbolizes protection, guidance, and moral strength. These qualities are universally valued and resonate with people and cultures, regardless of their religious context. Influence in popular culture. In popular culture, Abraham has manifested in numerous forms, from literature and cinema to art and music. The name evokes a sense of tradition, respect, and depth and is often used for characters that embody wisdom and integrity. The association with real historical figures, such as Abraham Lincoln, also enriches its meaning, adding layers of leadership, emancipation, and humanity. Psychological perspective. From a psychological perspective, the name can influence how a person is perceived. Abraham, with his resonance of leadership and moral strength, could predispose positive expectations about a person's ability to be a leader or mentor. This influence of the name on social perception underscores the power of cultural and symbolic meanings associated with names. Globalization and diversity. In the context of globalization, the meaning of Abraham as father of multitudes takes on a new dimension, symbolizing human unity and diversity. This aspect highlights the name's ability to foster an inclusive and global identity, valuing diversity and the interconnection among different peoples and cultures. The meaning of the name, religious. The religious meaning of the name Abraham is profound and multifaceted, rooted in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. Each of these religions attributes to Abraham values and spiritual lessons that are central to their faith. Judaism. In Judaism, Abraham is considered the founding patriarch of the Jewish people, a symbol of unwavering faith and obedience to God. His story, which includes his call by God to leave his home and head to an unknown land, as well as the covenant God makes with him, is a source of inspiration and teaching. Abraham represents the virtues of hospitality, justice, and, above all, faith in God's promises, even in the face of immense trials. His willingness to sacrifice his son Isaac, though ultimately averted, is interpreted as the epitome of faith and obedience. Christianity. For Christianity, Abraham is equally significant. Considered as the father of all believers, his faith is presented as a model for Christians of all times. The epistle in Romans in the New Testament highlights how Abraham's faith was accounted to him for righteousness, establishing a precedent for justification by faith in Jesus Christ. Abraham is, therefore, a bridge between the Old and New Testaments, exemplifying the saving faith that transcends the law. Islam. In Islam, Abraham, is revered as a prophet and messenger of Allah, distinguished by his complete submission to the divine will. His rejection of his people's polytheism and his dedication to the worship of one God establish him as a model of Tawhid, the oneness of God. The celebration of Eid al-Adha commemorates his willingness to sacrifice his son Ismail, in the Islamic narrative, as an act of obedience to God, an event that underscores the importance of sacrifice and submission in the Muslim faith. Unity and divergence in religious meaning. Across these three major Abrahamic religions, the name Abraham symbolizes faith, obedience, and commitment to a spiritual path dictated by a higher power. Although the specific interpretations and narrative contexts vary, the essence of what Abraham represents, the relationship between the human and the divine, is remarkably consistent. The figure of Abraham serves as an interreligious meeting point, reminding followers of different traditions of their shared roots and the fundamental principles of faith, obedience, and spiritual seeking. This convergence in meaning underscores the power of the name Abraham to transcend religious divisions and foster a sense of brotherhood and mutual understanding. History of the name. The history of the name Abraham is as rich and varied as the civilizations that have adopted and adapted it over the millennia. From its origins in ancient religious traditions to its role in modernity, the name has traveled through times and geographies, acquiring new layers of meaning and resonance. Ancient origins. The figure of Abraham first emerges in the sacred texts of Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, placing him in the region of Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq, around the 2nd millennium BC. Although the details vary, in all of them, Abraham is portrayed as a man of deep faith, chosen by God to lead his people and establish a new covenant. Expansion through cultures. As these religions spread, the name and story of Abraham disseminated beyond their origins in the Middle East. In the Greek and Roman worlds, the figure of Abraham was incorporated into philosophical and theological discussions, serving as a bridge between the Jewish faith and early Christian thinkers. During the Middle Ages, the story of Abraham remained vital in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic writings, and his name adorned countless works of art, literature, and theology. In this period, he became a symbol of obedience and faith across the Islamic world, while in Europe, the Protestant Reformation revived interest in Abraham as a model of justification by faith. Modern and contemporary era. With the advent of modernity, the figure of Abraham continued to evolve. In the Enlightenment and critical thought of the 18th and 19th centuries, Abraham was discussed within broader contexts of reason and morality. Figures like Abraham Lincoln in the United States became modern bearers of his values, fighting for justice and freedom. In the 20th century and up to the present, the story of Abraham remains relevant in interreligious and cultural debates. His figure has been invoked in discussions about peace, tolerance, and understanding among the different Abrahamic faiths and beyond, serving as a reminder of the shared values and common heritage of humanity. Cultural and religious impact. Throughout the centuries, Abraham has symbolized the search for truth, justice, and faith. His legacy is evident not only in the continuity of religious traditions but also in the cultural impact he has had on literature, art, philosophy, and politics. The history of Abraham is one of transformation and adaptation, reflecting changes in human understanding and the relationship with the divine. Legacy and continuity. The persistence of the name Abraham throughout history speaks to its universality and ongoing relevance. Through the ages, it has served as a beacon of faith and hope, a symbol of the human capacity to face great challenges with conviction and dedication. His story is a reminder that, despite differences, there are values and aspirations that unite humanity. Conclusion. The journey through the name Abraham has taken us from its ancient roots to its presence in the modern world, revealing a name that is much more than a mere label. Abraham represents a mosaic of faith, culture, history, and humanity. His story is a testimony to the persistence of certain universal values over time and how a name can encapsulate deep hopes, beliefs, and aspirations. The richness of Abraham lies not only in its religious meaning, deeply rooted in Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, but also in its etymological and cultural relevance that transcends the confines of any single faith. It is a reminder of our shared quest for meaning, purpose, and connection. As the world continues to advance, the legacy of Abraham, with its call to faith, obedience, leadership, and unity, continues to inspire generations. It urges us to look beyond our differences, finding common ground in the fundamental values that bind us together. The name Abraham, therefore, is not just a relic of the past, but a compass for the future, guiding us towards a deeper and more respectful understanding of our diversity and our shared humanity.